So this popped up in my timeline, and I'm compelled to react to it. I'm not very familiar with the dude who posted this video. I feel like I've watched him before, but I can't remember what. But he's not somebody that I watch consistently or that I'm super aware of. But the reason we're reacting is because these three guys are not fucking Manosphere. What are we doing? What are we doing? One is a fucking president, which I understand. We've talked about how, over in the white manosphere, it'd be like a lot of dog whistle racism and shit like that. Shout out to Legion of Men. Then you got Academics, who is a fucking hip hop blogger, has zero. He hasn't even been on Fresh and Fit for like 1,000 years. Like, he's not Manosphere. And then you got Kanye, who's a fucking Nazi. And he said this, the whole shit with the slaves. Like, the Harriet didn't free the slaves and slavery was a choice. I stopped fucking with him that long ago. So the whole point is, I don't fuck with none of them. And they are on the cover of a video talking about the manosphere is evolving. So I expect misrepresentation, misunderstanding, or a lack of understanding, and etc. So I just want to watch it with y'all to see what this is.
The manosphere is evolving, but for the first time in a while, I think we are too. So I touched on this on my Twitch channel a little while ago. I think I even released a little video about it. But about a week and a half ago, a bunch of people, a bunch of the worst types of dudes, to be honest, got really mad at Deontay Cal for saying some shit that I think needed to be said. When I play this and you hear Deontay talk, you're gonna be like, oh, I get it. But let's hear this real quick.
You may not harass women. You may know how to take rejection. The majority of men that most women deal with do not.
Yeah.
And you are accountable for that as well. You can call it pandering. But if I was up here caping for white women, you wouldn't even mention that word. If I was up here caping for Hispanic women, you wouldn't even call it pandering. Only when we take pride and show love to black women do you call it pandering.
Deontay Cal of the Grits and Nets podcast was basically just responding to the energy that was being put out there by a lot of these dudes around Tory Lanez and Diddy, people talking about free Diddy, as if Diddy was not caught on camera abusing Cassie this time last year, and that all these dudes were clearly on board for a second with that, but as soon...
See, everybody who reacts to this clip and supports this clip, they can't just let the clip stand on its own legs. They have to add some extra shit that is not in the clip. They have to give their own interpretation of the clip as far as something he didn't say. They have to remix it in some way. They have to add some context that is not inside the clip. The people who are seeing this don't fucking know, because we're reacting to what he's saying. So everybody who sees this and defends it, they always have to add some extra shit to justify it or make it sound good.
This Cassie showed up and started pointing out how she was treated. It's like seeing a woman to these niggas. It just forces them back into a misogyny hole where they cannot deal with the idea of engaging with another woman as a human. That red pill ideology completely comes back up to the surface. And a lot of other folks, a lot of other men, sadly, online, and this is important for me to point out, they seem to not be bothered by this. And they seem to be bothered by the idea that someone like Deontay Cal or these other men publicly take issue with this nonsense.
Now, when he says take issue with this nonsense, he's talking about all the stuff as far as the context that he just laid out as far as Cassie and whatever else. That is disingenuous, because the situation he painted in the clip that he did, as far as Deontay Cal, he said the majority of men that approach women can't take rejection and they lash out negatively, and you are accountable for those men. It's so many videos on TikTok, and they're all expressing, as far as anybody who disagrees, they're expressing the fact that we disagree with us being accountable for men who can't take rejection and lash out, because we don't do it. And you see how he tried to twist it into some Cassie, Diddy, misogyny, baby oil shit. Like, it's not even that. See, Buddy is full of shit. That's all it is. That's all it is. He had to twist it and morph it into something else that it's not. And then he tried to frame everybody who has an issue with what Deontay Cal or Deontay, whatever the fuck his name is. He tried to frame everybody who had an issue with what he said as people who think negatively about Cassie. That has nothing to do with this as far as the clip that we actually seen. And see, this is what happens when you have people who get on camera and have an agenda and have a bias against anything remotely red pill, manosphere, and stuff like that. You see just through the word misogyny out really quick. You can't have an honest conversation or expect an honest dialogue out of them, because what they're going to do is what he did. He created a context that it has nothing to do with the clip. If Cassie is brought up in any context in any clip related to this, it's to prove a separate point. It is not to disprove what Deontay Cal said, because Diddy is not a part of this discussion. Cassie is not a part of this discussion. But the agenda is to vilify, be disingenuous, etc., get clicks, all that shit.
And for a while now, while I've dabbled in talking about Manosphere stuff, I've mostly kind of, not engaged with it, because I think building something bigger than the Manosphere is more valuable than at every turn trying to engage with, debunk, or fight Manosphere type.
And bingo, the cat's out the bag, he's anti-Manosphere. So this is a thing. I don't have no problem with anybody being anti anything or whatever the case may be as far as a set of beliefs or whatever the case. But if you're going to go against them, if you are going to make arguments, at least be genuine. Don't be disingenuous. And also make sure what you're saying is logically sound. Now, there's nothing about this as far as logic to where I've seen where it's like, oh, he's not being logically sound. But the thing is, he's being disingenuous. I already explained that. We're going to continue.
Energy and attitudes. However, I think it's time to get back in the ring at this point, because on one end, we're probably closer than we've ever been at actually completely turning the tables on red pill nonsense, at least within black male spaces. But at the same time, it's also obvious that the red pill is evolving and becoming a little bit more dangerous and insidious in ways that I don't think people are paying attention to. I don't think I have to explain the red pill too tough at this point. You pretty much probably already know if you're watching me, but for anyone not knowledgeable, the red pill is one of many names used to describe the manosphere, a loosely associated genre of misogynistic content that has been online for really well over a decade at this point, but saw exponential growth in the last few years, especially during the COVID lockdown.
So telling the truth is misogyny now. Education is misogyny now. Awareness is misogyny. The thing that kills me about people like this who are like, I am going to pick up, well, let me get this out of the way first. That is not what the manosphere is. People like him like to weaponize the word misogyny. And to anybody who doesn't know anything about the manosphere, doesn't plan on getting into the manosphere, they're going to take it at face value. Oh, that's what it is. It's misogyny, rhetoric, etc., etc. So we're going to run with that. We're going to run with that blindly based on what he said. And we're just going to label all of it that. And when we see any of these guys that are associated with this, we're just going to call them misogynists. So as far as what the manosphere is, it is content for men, typically created by men. In some cases, it's created by women. And the content revolves around self-improvement for men, female nature, or you could just say women, male to female relationships, and other things adjacent to manhood, like masculinity, fatherhood, things of that nature. And that's one of the ironic things as far as the self-improvement aspect. If you look at almost any creator in this space, in some way, shape, or form, they're going to push you to better yourself. They're going to push you in the direction of elevating yourself in some way, shape, or form. But this is what I was going to say earlier. The funniest thing to me is when you have guys like this who are like, you know what, I'm going to pick up the mantle of the Manosphere Slayer because it's so dangerous and it's so horrible, da-da-da-da-da. When you got women running rampant all over the internet with all types of misandry, no woman is going to check any of them. There's no woman that is picking up the mantle like, you know what, I am going to destroy the misandrist movement or anything. It's none of them who are speaking to women and in women's spaces doing that. I ain't gonna lie, it's very few, but this is the thing about all of those women that do. They are Manosphere adjacent. They have male audiences. They have some type of crossover to where there's a lot of men watching their content. There's nobody over on the women's side that is a woman that is just saying, you know what? Y'all are putting out a lot of bad content. Y'all are putting out a lot of bad narratives. There's a lot of man bashing and hatred going on. Y'all need to stop. No women are holding women accountable. But this is the thing. When you look around the internet, you not only see a bunch of misandry, but you see a lot of dysfunction from women as a group. Like one telling them that cheating is the way to go, and a lot of women agreeing with it.
Don't kill the messenger, okay? But if you cheat on your dude, right, and he takes you back, y'all are locked in. Y'all are locked in for life. He will never leave you. That's a fact. And even sometimes, I might even go as far to say that you might have to cheat on him.
I cheated on my man 8 times. He took me back every time. Gotta show them that they are not bigger than the program. She's not wrong. We're just gonna leave it at that. In fact, they treat you better.
So we all can agree that that's wrong, right? we all can agree that that's wrong. But this is the question I have for anybody watching this. Is highlighting what women just did in that clip misogyny? Is that misogyny? Other dysfunction that we'll see is women wanting to divorce good men.
We talk about how hard it is to leave the good guy. When you say, I want a divorce, and he's like, no, I want to work this out. Everything's going to be fine. You know, we can get through this. And he's so encouraging and everything's just so fucking peachy keen, right? We talk about how I'm manipulated into staying because he's a good guy. He does nothing wrong. Like, the only thing he's guilty of is being lazy and, you know, not putting in effort like we did when we were in the beginning of our relationship, like any other marriage. He doesn't beat me, he doesn't do anything, he doesn't take money from me, but he downplays my emotions. I don't think he fully understands me, and we've talked about this, y'all. This has all been in counseling, but how do you leave the good guy?
Read this comment, right? We all married to the same man. Works, provides, no abuse, but he don't love us. We don't feel love. It's friendship. Roommate situationship.
Well, she got 3 triplets. I don't know how many kids they got together, but I did see she got 3 triplets. They all 17. She been married to Buddy for 7 years. I don't know how long they've been together, but they've been married for 7. So just off of that, he's been raising them kids since they was 10 years old. It's mighty convenient that now they about to get out of high school. Now all of a sudden you want to leave that man. But this is the kicker. Watch this, because they're not even his kids.
How do you think it is for Casey?
That's who I think it
She has
is.
to raise 2-year-old triplets alone.
That's who I think it is.
Take a look at her story.
It is hard being a single mom and raising triplets. I go day to day thinking, how am I going to feed my kids? I was with Casey for 6 years, and I never thought he would do this to his children. Everything changed when he got with his fiancée, Rachel. He chose another woman over our kids. What hurts me the most when I look at my children is that they look just like him. And he signed the paternity papers, and he's not there. My triplets just need a dad. They need someone to be there.
Say first, watch.
Casey, you cheated on me countless times. You are nothing but a scandalous. I did not follow these triplets. 3 kids without any of my features makes you 3 times a whore. I've taken care of these triplets. Even though it seemed I was happy, I have never felt a connection with any of them.
Now, don't you think it's crazy that a chick wants to divorce a man and break up a family just because she feels like she's not loved, even though the dude is doing everything right and she doesn't want to work it out? And she says he does so much other stuff right. Don't you think that's kind of weird? And that's something that should be highlighted, being that she decided to take that to the internet? Don't you think it's weirder that, like he mentioned, the chick, you know, the kids turn 17. They're about to be 18. They're about to be adults. Now you want to start to get away from this dude, but you was just in the Maury clip like, they need a dad. They need a dad. It's so hard. Life is so hard. But then on top of that, Buddy took you on a Maury and said you cheated on him multiple times. You was on Maury. You was on Maury. So this is the thing. We could just see that there is something wrong with wanting to divorce somebody that you consider a air quote good man, because marriage is supposed to be some death do us part till death do us part shit. Is it misogyny to highlight a lot of women? Because you're seeing one woman in the comments said we're all married to the same man. Is it misogyny to point out that that is how a lot of women feel, based on not only the amount of hearts that got, but the comments and things like that? Is it misogyny to point out that a lot of women feel the way that she feels about their air quote good man that is providing, protecting, and doing everything right? Is it misogyny to point that out? Is it also misogyny to point out that she was on Maury when the kids were babies, or that she cheated on the guy that she was on Maury with? Is it misogyny to point those things out? I got one more example of dysfunction, but everybody here knows I could do this all day. You know I could do this all day. So everybody knows, if you go and you look at the content, you can go and see all over TikTok that there is an approach drought. You can watch these female podcasts. They say that men are not coming up to women anymore. You got MSNBC and all of these people talking about the male loneliness epidemic and the lack of children being produced and all types of stuff. So that's the state that we're in right now. That's not no manosphere shit. That's something that people are actually taking stats on. They're actually weighing, okay, there's actually an epidemic going on. And there's an approach drought. Men are not approaching. We get to this comment right here that says, someone just walked by me and said, you turned down 70 men tonight. I did a little laugh. He just so happened to walk by as I was turning down someone else and yelled out 71. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I could see the humor in that. I'm not a disingenuous guy. But the thing is, if you are somebody that's going up to approach her, and it's so funny, like women say men don't have empathy, like none of them have empathy for these men who are going up to them, trying to be courageous, approach them, et cetera, et cetera. And they don't know what it's like. They don't know what it's like, and they know that they can't do it themselves. They know they're incapable of doing it themselves, especially on the level that men are doing it, as far as how much we put ourselves out there. There's nothing wrong with her rejecting dudes. You don't have to be with every dude that approaches you or anything like that. But this here is rude and it's arrogant. That's what it is. I could say that it's funny, but at the same time, it's rude and arrogant, and it lacks empathy for the man who is going against that anxiety and stuff like that, going to approach you, knowing he might not get you. And then this is the thing about that as well. He's referencing a clip in this video, ironically, of Deontay Cal saying most men can't take rejection well. Guess what? That guy took that disrespect. He took that rudeness on the chin, because if he had reacted and lashed out badly, that would be the story that she's telling, instead of saying 71. If any of them reacted crazy out of the 70 dudes that she turned down, that would be a story. But guess what? It's not. So a chick could get approached by 70 dudes, which 70 is probably an exaggeration, but she got approached by a lot of dudes. And guess what? She didn't get a reaction bad enough to go home and talk about it. She got a guy asking her, or telling her, man, you turned down 70 dudes. And her saying 71. That's the story that she got to tell. So that right there just alone proves to some degree that what Buddy is talking about is a myth. Most guys, that I'm sure he probably never really been outside like that. Just keeping it real. But going back to this, so that's rude. So you got Buddy under there who says, don't approach these women, fellas. That is an appropriate response. Because if we are going to try and be courageous and things like that, try and go up to you, we don't expect every woman to want to fuck with us. But when you get rejected, it's still going to feel some type of way. Women know this because they can't take rejection themselves. They know this. So, yeah, it's going to impact the dude, but at least be polite about the rejection. Now, if the dude is being overly persistent, you got to do what you got to do. You see how I just did that right there? That's something that the guy who we're reacting to, people like him, are not capable of doing because they're not real people. They're not real people. And then we have this response to the woman that I'm not going to read the whole thing. She said, this comment section proves men are the emotional ones. She mentioned something about men spewing hate and then men exaggerating their dick size. Nothing about that story is an exaggeration except the number 70. That's it. That's it. The story is a story. Her yelling out 71, either that happened or it didn't. That wouldn't be an exaggeration. That would be her being indirectly condescending to a guy that she just rejected. That's what it is. That's where the problem is. It's not about anything. Like, if there's an embellishment outside of the number 70, then it's not obvious. And then we got the famous tweet, which is, men really should start out in jail and earn their way out. We got that viral tweet. Or that viral take that's been going viral by everybody, which is clearly misandry. We also got The View, which I'm not going to post a clip of them saying that men are useless. They did a whole segment on national TV last year saying that men are useless. So this is the question that I have. When it comes to motherfuckers like this, why do these people make such a strong effort to align themselves against the manosphere, right? When you've seen a lot of the stuff that I highlight, a lot of it is valid. A lot of it is not, the majority of it is not misogyny. I'm sure that, I'll keep it so real, there's definitely going to be some misogyny somewhere. But as far as the majority, you can't write off all of this as far as the truth telling and et cetera, as misogyny. But this is the more important point. Why do those people never, ever, 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 and we see it all over the place, all the shit that I showed you, why don't they ever call out any women for anything? Why don't they ever call out any women for anything? Why are we trying to paint a picture that only men are bad, only men are wrong? Because this is the thing, that picture has been getting painted the whole time. That picture has been getting painted since the 50s, since the 70s, since the 80s, 90s, 2000. It's been a mainstream thing on TV, man, bad. That's what it is. So we've been seeing that. And we've been having platforms where women could go on places like The View and just talk shit about men. Men never could talk shit about women the way they do on mainstream platforms. But this is why people like this guy that you see on the screen, never call out women. Look at this video right here. We all know what is wrong with Travis Hunter's now wife. And he's trying to act like it's not something worth calling out because we've seen that she clearly said that she didn't like him. She said that she didn't like him until she figured out who he was, and her brother was trying to force her to go and get with this cat because she didn't want him. He was doing things like sitting outside of the club waiting for her and shit. Why are these are things that they are letting us know. It is very clear that she is predatory and she doesn't want him. She just wants to be with him because of his status. She doesn't really like him. And he's trying to highlight that as if, okay, TikTok is a problem because everybody is calling this out. And then you don't really know these people. So when you see a woman that is clearly out of bounds, and even some women will admit that she's out of bounds, it's wrong to call her out. But this one right here was very telling as well when I went through his catalog. He put abuser over Johnny Depp's face and said, how did we let Johnny Depp get away with this? Everybody knows Amber Heard went on a fucking Me Too tour. She tried to paint herself as a victim. But when the trial happened, she got exposed. She got exposed. She was lying and she was very abusive. We heard the tapes. This man that you see on the screen is a fucking disingenuous pandering grifter. That's what he is. I'm not about to watch too much more of this video because this is the thing. There is not much of a point. I'm not a guy who believes that everybody should be debated. We should sit down with everybody. Man, I'm not into debating with racists or having dialogues with racists or negotiating with terrorists. None of that shit, bro. I'm not really into that. So when we look at this, his mind is made up, and we've pointed out a lot of the bullshit that he said. I'm going to let a little bit more of the video run. We'll respond to it. But motherfuckers like this have an agenda. They have an audience. And the thing about a grifter is they know what's going on. They know what's going on. And he's not this. I know that he's not truthfully believing that, okay, like Amber Heard didn't get exposed and or okay, Deontay Cal is right and women are not out here doing anything wrong. I know he doesn't believe that because this is the thing, man. You see motherfucking, this is what grifters do. They are full of shit. They are lying and they are playing characters. They are playing characters. Derrick Jackson is a character. For years, we had to listen to Derrick Jackson and women just eat up the pandering and all of that stuff until he got exposed. Ace Metaphor is a character. You wouldn't think that he was the way that he was if you're gullible, but then he got exposed. So now that character, it's not real anymore. And let me give you the best example because we just talking about men and women dynamics and people who pander to women. When you look at Tucker Carlson, that is the best example of a disingenuous grifting motherfucker, which most news fucking casters are. We already know the news be lying. We already know the media be lying. But text messages leak about him not liking this whole narrative about the whole Trump shit and the fixing of votes and blah, blah, blah. They went along with this fake ass shit, bro. He went along with the fake shit. He got exposed and he had to take the hit. For all the newscasters and Fox, he had to take the hit. They had to get him out the paint. They had to get him out of there. But Tucker Carlson, for his whole career, but especially during that election, he's been playing a character. So there's no doubt that this man that we are looking at is playing a character. 4 clicks, views, support, all of that shit. He is not a real person. We're going to continue to watch the vid.
From 2020 to 2023, there was a meteoric rise of people like Andrew Tate, Sneeko, Fresh and Fit, Jordan Peterson, the late Kevin Samuels, and plenty of others. You might think all those names can't be grouped together, but you'll be wrong, and I've already made 2 long-ass videos about it, so go watch those. I'm not going over it again. However, from 2023 to now, those ties have shifted somewhat. Fresh and Fit were demonetized, Sneeko was a weirdo, and people seem to finally be realizing this. Andrew Tate got arrested and has seemingly been trying to stay out of the spotlight. Jordan Peterson kind of lost his mind off benzos and shifted his focus to, supporting a genocide, so I guess it got worse. And Kevin Samuels died alone. How ironic. With these flag bearers, you would think that...
See, he can't even keep it real about that. Kevin Samuels died with a woman who reported his death, who was with him at the time that he died. Motherfuckers just be full of shit. I'm done with it. I can't do this shit, bro. I knew it was going to be some bullshit, and I wanted to figure out what it was, but I don't got it in me, dog. You see, bruh, I don't got it in me, man. I'll let this run for one more stop.
The Manosphere would shrivel up and die, and you be right for the most part, right? For the Black Manosphere in particular, Samuels was their one crossover superstar, and without him, they mostly returned to their musty basements and group chats on Discord and Zoom calls, doing the same debates they have been doing for the last decade and a half. White red pill spaces, for various reasons, have always struggled to maintain overt visibility, and while they're still very visible and being covered more by mainstream audiences, overall it felt like a lot of those consumers of red pill content between 2020 and 2023 started to realize they were being grifted, maybe went outside and actually tried to talk to women, and a lot of them began to move on. Another big factor is that Donald Trump won again. So a benefit of that is that they're kind of in a refractory period. That's gross, But it is what it is. With their avatar in the White House right now, they just don't have as much energy to go out and be awful like they used to be. But this is also what scares me, because in this previous presidential election, a lot of data clearly indicates that young men for the first time seem to move right in their voting habits, not just in their professed ideology, which is something that's always happened, but it had a tangible effect on outcomes of elections nationwide. And although it's not by nearly the same margin, this also includes young black men. After years of being surrounded by these images and this red pill content, there were real consequences in the political world, and this has not gone unnoticed by political actors on the right. Trump was very actively seeking out the attention of audiences, from Theo Vaughn to Aiden Ross and of course Joe Rogan. Not officially red pill figures, but very red pill sensitive, red pill adjacent, if you will. And we'll come back to what that means in a second.
That's the first thing that he said is close to real. That's close to real. They are not red pill figures. That is the first thing that he has said is close to real. Because that whole Donald Trump is their fucking, like, get their mascot, get the fuck out of it. And even then, this shit doesn't make sense. He wasn't in the White House, so they was wilding. Now that he's back in the White House, you would think motherfuckers would feel more empowered if he was a mascot. But no, they just been chilling because, you know, I don't know, shit. Motherfuckers just be talking. Just be talking. Lips just be moving. They don't care what they just be talking. They don't have to make sense. They just be talking because the audience is just going to eat up anything they say, even if it don't make fucking sense.
Another thing that's happening right now is that rapper or singer, mid-tier goblin guy Tory Lanez is having a retrial in the court of public opinion all over Twitter and social media. People are saying free Tory, and they're talking about new evidence that has never, like, none of this stuff is relevant, nor will it ever be in court. But it didn't stop a politician in Florida, the whole other side of the country where this shit happens, who definitely knows nothing about Tory Lanez or hip hop or Meg Thee Stallion and doesn't care about that shit either. But this woman knows that if she brings this up, it will activate a certain audience to pay attention to and undergird her politics. This woman jumped in the conversation, getting signed affidavits and alleged witnesses, stuff that will never make it to a courtroom, mind you. But it worked. It brought her attention. And we've seen Fox News and other conservative news sites report on some of this stuff in the same way, because what they're realizing is that the gender wars, especially the black gender wars, are useful for fueling right-wing agendas and improving upon their standing with young men who don't know any better. We're watching the red pill go through a very insidious and, to be honest, scary evolutionary process. One thing I've said on numerous occasions is that this whole idea of I got sucked into the red pill by accident is kind of bullshit. It's true to an extent, but it obfuscates an important fact that I need people to realize, which is that red pill ideology is only a few short steps from normal attitudes that exist about sex and gender. And the reason why it's so hard to consistently combat these ideologies is because we're combating normative opinions that almost all of us have been soaking up since childhood. And this is why I've never taken seriously the left isn't doing enough for men argument, because the reality is we're doing everything we can under the circumstances that are presented.
And there you have it, and that's where I stop, because really, I don't be into none of the political shit, bro. I don't be into none of the, oh, I'm left, I'm right, because I'm black. I'm black. So none of these motherfuckers are truly for me. They're not truly for me. So if you ever see me fucking supporting any politician, it's on a case-by-case basis. But what he said, because I was wondering, you know, is he trying to get coochie points or what is this? Like, because that may be a factor. But when he said, you know, they're saying that the left isn't doing enough, but he said we. So he identifies as a left figure. And that's all I need to know. That's all, because I already knew he was a disingenuous fuck. I already knew that there was an agenda, but that let me know he aligns himself politically with the left and identifies with it. And you know what that comes with, man. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to politics and politicians, they all full of shit. And when I see anybody, whether it be the Hodge twins or this motherfucker right here on the screen, representing any political side, and you have a media platform, I'm looking at you like you full of shit. That's just what it is. So we done today, man. Yeah, it's just some bullshit, man. It's fucking waste of time, kind of.